How do you know if you're eating too much or too little for weight loss? I get this question a lot, and I actually have noticed that when I post pictures of my food or when I see people post pictures of their food in like the Trim Healthy Mama Facebook groups, a lot of people will comment and say, "Oh, that's way too much for me," or "Oh, I could never eat that little." And I think that it's important to experiment. Trim Healthy Mama is not a portion control plan, but they do talk about calorie abuse. And I have seen that even in periods of time where I'm, for example, when my family gets pizza, I'll eat the toppings off of a slice of pizza. I have had times where I have felt like I could eat the toppings off of an entire pizza, and that's too much for me. And I know that now. That's my body is not going to do well with that. But I think for other times when I post like a what I think is a really filling, balanced, good meal, a lot of people will say, "Oh, that would never be enough food for me." I would just say that if you feel like you could be overeating or you could be undereating, it might be good to first be sure that you are getting a good mix of meals. The way Trim Healthy Mama works is we're getting a mix of those E's, those FPs, those S meals, the three put together across a day. So let's say you have an S breakfast, you have an FP lunch, you have an E dinner. You're getting a good balance if you're doing it the way the plan was written, a good balance of protein, a good balance of vegetables, a good balance of healthy fats, a good balance of healthy carbs. And if you're following the plan that way, you may not need to do a whole bunch of calculating. But if you're really concerned, I did have someone tell me, "Oh, I didn't realize I shouldn't be eating this many FP meals." And they were having a full day of FP consistently and only getting like 1,000 or 1,100 calories a day. We had to switch that up. So we did the um, reverse calorie thing with her. She ended up building up more S's and E's and ended up losing weight and getting to her goal. But it's really important to be sure that you're getting that good balance because then you naturally have some good built in foundations for the way you're eating. If you are worried that you're eating too much, what I do is I typically start with a smaller paper plate with a smaller like salad plate, not the tiny ones, but the like 8-inch plates. And if I need seconds or want more, I feel okay about it because I've started small. I tend to overeat when I get a big dinner plate, like a huge round plate, fill it up. Sometimes I feel like I can have seconds. So sometimes I start small and get seconds instead of starting big and feeling like I have to finish everything. Another thing to watch out for if you're worried that you're eating too much, which you may not be, but sometimes we have to take a little bit of that wiser approach to THM and we have to make sure that we're getting the good balance in there. So if you're concerned about that, another thing to do is just not have as many heavy S meals. Again, these are simple ways to make sure that you're not overeating or undereating. It's not counting, it's not over fixating on things, but just if I have someone that I see is like, okay, you're not really getting the results you want, there are a couple of things I always check. One is, timing, the balance of ease in their meal plan, making sure they're getting enough ease in. And also, if they're consistently having tons and tons of heavy S's, I will just have them cut that down and just say, okay, maybe just have a heavy S once a day and have the rest of your meals be deep S's instead. That can kind of naturally make sure that you're not getting way too much of any one type of fuel in your meals. So those are just a few things to check. Again, THM is not a portion control meal, but there are little things we can check on and little steps we can take to make sure that we're not getting way too much, we're not getting way too little. So if you feel like you don't have that balance, I would first reevaluate what fuel types you're eating and when. So again, like the person who had all FPs in a day that was eating, about 1,000 calories, that was not helping her lose weight. We needed to really follow the plan with the way that they've broken down, getting more ease in, making sure we're having those healthy fats in too. FPs have their place. And if you're not having any FPs, that's also something you can consider. If you find that you're having a lot of heavy S's, switching it up for a few FPs. And my go-to is telling someone, hey, get that FP dessert in after dinner instead of a heavy S and just see what happens. But those are just a few small things you can try. And if you aren't like me and you feel like you have more control, using a bigger plate is absolutely fine. I just find that I do better with the smaller plate. And that way I'm getting enough food, but not just eating because I feel like I have to because I have a huge plate full. So I hope that makes sense. And I hope you all have a great day. I will be talking to you soon.